Hey there everyone, and welcome back to Bill's Retro Gaming Show. On today's video we're going to be taking another look at the Capcom Legacy Yoga Flame Edition from Arcade1up. Now earlier this week I happened to be fortunate enough, right place, right time, to catch a glimpse of the Ms. Pac-Man Legacy and the Capcom Yoga Flame Edition when they went up on Arcade1up's website before they got taken back down again. Now, if you haven't seen that video, there will be a link to it in the description. But I wanted to take a minute here and just talk again about that Yoga Flame Edition. Specifically, I wanted to talk about the games list because it's a very interesting list. And I think if you're like me, a lot of us speculated when we found out that they were going to be releasing another Capcom Legacy this year that it would be basically a rehash of the last Capcom Legacy they did with maybe 2 extra games on it to bring it up to 14 games like the legacies that they've released this year. And that's what they've done this year with the other ones, with the Centipede, Pac-Mania, the Mortal Kombat 30th. They basically took the legacies from the previous legacies and just added 2 more games to them. So if you're like me, you figured that's what this was going to be. Well, I was very surprised to find out that that was not the case, that this list of games is very different from last year's. And while it does share many of the same games in common with the Capcom Legacy and even with Big Blue, it does include several games that we've never seen before from Arcade1up. Some of which are very unique and maybe even a little bit unknown. So I want to take a minute and just go through that games list, show you guys what these games look like real quick, and just kind of talk about each one a little bit. So before we jump into that, if this is your first time checking out the channel, be sure to hit that subscription button. Click the notification bell if you want to be notified every time I put up a new video. Be sure to give this one a thumbs up and leave a comment below what you think of the games list and what you think of the Capcom Legacy in general. All right, so let's jump right in and let's start with the first game, and that's going to be Street Fighter. So this is the original Street Fighter game, and this was released in 1987 from Capcom, and it is the reason why the Yoga Flame Edition is going to carry the 35th anniversary logo on its riser, because of this game being released 35 years ago. And this was Capcom's real first attempt, I believe, at a fighter, in which you play the character Ryu as he battles his opponents, trying to become the World Warrior. Now, this game was kind of a mild success in the arcades, but nowhere near as successful as the game that would come after it. And of course, that game would be Street Fighter II: The World Warriors, released 4 years later in 1991. Now, this game obviously was hugely popular and really sparked the entire fighting game genre in the arcades. As a matter of fact, this game was so popular for Capcom that over the next several years they would release multiple iterations of this game, each one adding new features, from new playable characters to heightened speeds to tournament modes, all kinds of different options with each release of the game. Now, the original Street Fighter II World Warriors is not on the Capcom Legacy. However, they are releasing some of the best ones in the series, and those would be Street Fighter II Champion Edition, Street Fighter II Turbo Hyper Fighting, and Super Street Fighter II Turbo. And rounding out the Street Fighter themed games is going to be Super Puzzle Fighter II Turbo. Now, this is obviously not a fighting game, but a gem matching puzzle game. And as you move gems down the row and try to match up the ones on your side, the characters will battle each other in the middle of the screen. And the whole object here is to match and eliminate gems on your side, causing more to fall on your opponent's side. And once one of you reaches the top where you can no longer match gems, the match is over and you win. Now, again, this is going to be kind of a different game, being that it's a puzzle game, but it just adds to the nature of the fact that this is going to be a cabinet with several different types of games on it. So moving away from the Street Fighter games, we have the King of Dragons, a side-scrolling beat-em-up that was released in 1991. In this game, you play one of 3 characters as you go through the Kingdom of Malice to defeat monsters led by the Dragon Gildas. Now, this game features a level advancement system allowing character attributes to be upgraded as players progress through the game. Again, this is a 3-player beat 'em up, so again, the neat feature about this is going to be, with the cab having online play, being able to play with you and a couple of your friends online through the game. So definitely something fun to look forward to, and if you're a fan of beat 'em ups, this is definitely a neat one, and one that is one of the ones, I should say, that we have not seen from Arcade1up on a cabinet before. This is Progear, and this is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up that was originally released in 2001. And again, this was one that really caught me by surprise being on this. Not necessarily because it's a shoot-'em-up, because we've seen those on these cabinets before, but because it's a game that I don't think too many people really know that much about or are aware of. I didn't know much about it until I started really looking into it, and it's one of those that a lot of times is called a bullet hell game, just because there are so many shots being fired at you on screen at once as you try to dodge through them and make your way, along the screen. So again, very interesting game that they've announced to have on this cabinet, and very unique, and just like King of Dragons, not one that we have seen on an Arcade1up system before. Next up, we have Battle Circuit, which is another side-scrolling beat-em-up that was originally released in 1997. Now, this game takes place in an alternate future Earth, and the game revolves around a group of bounty hunters who must capture the mad scientist Dr. Saturn and secure a sophisticated computer disk carrying a program known as the Shiva system. Now, the characters are definitely very over-the-top and comic-like in this game, and I believe you have the ability to choose from up to 5 different characters, and this is a 4-player simultaneous game. So again, having the ability to play this online with up to 4 people at once is going to be fantastic for a game like this. And this is another one that I would say we have not seen from Arcade1up on a cabinet before. So another unique addition to this legacy system. Originally released in 1993, this is Saturday Night Slam Masters. This is a wrestling themed game, and one that we actually have seen before, I believe, on the Big Blue cab. Now, some of you may recognize the big guy on screen. That is Hagar, who is also in the Final Fight series, and we will get to that in a little bit. But again, fun wrestling game, multiplayer, and so again, having the ability to play this online with people, I think is going to be a lot of fun. Next up, we have Capcom Sports Club. And again, this is one that we have seen released before, again, I believe on the Big Blue cab. This is another sports-themed game from Capcom, and in this one, you have the ability to play one of 3 different games you can play. Smash Stars, which is a tennis-themed game, Dunk Stars, which is basketball, and Kick Stars, which is soccer. And as you can see, it does star certain Capcom characters within the game. There's Chun-Li jumping around there, and again, one that we have seen before, but a fun addition to this cab for sure, and just to have different games in different genres. Now, another new game to Arcade1up, this is Giga Wing, and Giga Wing is a vertical shooter that was originally released in 1999. This game takes place during a fictional war within a steampunk setting. The player controls one of 4 different futuristic aircraft and must destroy enemy aircraft, tanks, ships, and buildings using both guns and missiles mounted on the aircraft and a limited supply of bombs, which damage or destroy all enemies on screen when used. Now, you do have the ability to play 2 players on this, so again, another one that will be cool to have online features for, and another unique game in the fact that I don't believe that we've had any vertical shooters from Capcom on an Arcade1up system before, and certainly not Giga Wing. So next up, we have Armored Warrior, originally released in 1994. Another side-scrolling beat-em-up, but what is different about this is that you play the game inside an armored mech. This is, again, a multiplayer game, so you do have the option of playing with other people. And it's a unique one because you do have the ability to switch out different parts of your mech throughout the game, arms, legs, weapons, as you battle through, either picking up or losing different armor. You also have the ability to do team-up attacks with other players, and this is another 3-player game. So again, having the ability to play online, as I keep saying, is going to be a big boon for this game. And again, this is another one that is unique that we have not seen Arcade1up put on a cabinet before. Now, this is a game I'm actually very excited to see them put on here, and this is Captain Commando, which was originally released in 1991. Another side-scrolling beat-em-up. This one takes place in more of a futuristic setting, and the game stars the titular superhero, Captain Commando, who was originally conceived as a fictional spokesman for Capcom. The game's set in a futuristic version of Metro City, which is the same setting used for Final Fight, and features several loose ties with characters and settings from that game. The year is supposed to be 2026. The world is filled with crime. Captain Commando and his 3 faithful commando companions rise up to erase this crime from planet Earth and from all the galaxy. But the futuristic criminals they have to fight are endowed with a secret hidden evil power. Many of them are super criminals with abilities beyond that of ordinary mortals. The leader of all super criminals is Scumicide. Yeah, again, another just fun game, fun beat 'em up if you are a fan of these. And one that we actually have seen before. This was on the Street Fighter II Partycade that was released by Arcade1up, but not on one of their 3/4 scale arcades before. So that will make this one a little bit unique. Plus, again, having the ability for online play will make this a lot more fun, being able to play with other players. You couldn't really do that on the Partycade. As a matter of fact, the Partycade was just 1 player. You couldn't even play 2 players side by side. So having the ability to play multiple players on this, I think, is going to be a lot of fun, especially if you are a huge fan of these side-scrolling beat-em-ups. And last but not least is a game that I'm sure a lot of people are very happy to see a return. This was on last year's, or I should say the last Capcom Legacy that they did as well. This is Final Fight. Probably the most famous side-scrolling beat-em-up that Capcom has ever done. And one of their first too, as this game was released in 1990. Very similar to Street Fighter, this one really set the standard for the beat-em-ups that would come after it. And it's just a hugely fun, hugely popular game in which you can play as, I believe, up to 3 different characters, and 2 of you can play at the same time. So, yet again, online play for this is going to be a huge deal. And I believe it's the first time we will see the ability to have online play for the Final Fight series. Alright, there you go. That is a look at the 14 games that, as of right now, we believe are going to be on that Capcom Legacy Yoga Flame Edition. Now, there's also supposed to be another version of this Capcom Legacy, and I keep forgetting, it's Shindu Hadouken, something Hadouken. I keep forgetting exactly what it's called. I'll just call it the Hadouken Edition for now. And we don't know a lot about that one compared to the Yoga Flame. I have speculated that the artwork on it is actually going to be very similar, maybe with like a bluish tint as opposed to the yellow reddish tint that the Yoga Flame is going to have on it. And again, while it's all just speculation at this point, my guess is it's probably going to be the same games list. I don't think they're going to do 2 versions with different games on it. Now, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, because we did see that with the Marvel Superheroes and the Marvel vs. Street Fighter cabinets, where they had similar games in common, but also a couple of different games. Now, I gotta be honest, I'm kind of hoping they don't go that route. I'd almost rather these have the same games on it, because then it just becomes a matter of which artwork, which style do you like better, rather than having 2 cabinets with probably mostly the same games on it and maybe swapping out 2, 3, 4 different games. Then it becomes well, which one do you like better in terms of games list? Or, you know, I like the games on this, but I also like the couple of games they added to this. Do I have to buy both? Now, I wouldn't put it beyond Arcade1up to want to do that, because now you're trying to entice people to buy 2 cabs, not just 1. But I'm going to go out on a limb and just say my personal belief is that both are going to have the same games on it. Time will tell. But guys, let me know what you think of the games list. Are you excited for these games? Are you disappointed that it's not the same or similar to the other Capcom legacies that you see? This is not a fighter-heavy cab. Really, just the Street Fighter games are the only fighters on it. Then you've got a lot of beat-em-ups. You've got a couple of shoot-em-ups. You've got a puzzle game. You've got a couple of sports games. So you've got a very eclectic list of games on this. Are you happy about that? Or like I said, would you have rather seen something more like Big Blue, very fighter heavy, with maybe a couple of new fighters on it? You know, there's no Darkstalkers games on this. There's no fighters we haven't seen before, like Red Earth. Red Earth is getting a lot of attention because Capcom is going to be releasing a fighter collection for consoles pretty soon, and that one's going to be on it. And it's one that we really haven't seen in North America before, so to see it on a cab, I think would be very neat. But obviously they didn't do that here. So just going to leave it there. That's the games list, guys. Let me know what you think of that. Let me know in general what you think of the Capcom Legacy. Is this one you're looking forward to when it eventually gets officially put back on Arcade1up and we know when it's going to release? All right? That's going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, don't forget to subscribe, give this one a thumbs up, and I will see you again in the near future. Have a great day. Take care.